Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, Chapter 26. The next morning, Minli woke up under a heavy, rich blanket. Even though she was on the floor of the garden pagoda, she had slept comfortably, and as she sat up, she realized that was probably due to the silk pillows she had been lying on. The soft sunlight cast leaf shadows across her face, and the wind made gentle ripples in the moss colored lake in front of her. The imperial garden was just as beautiful in the day as it was by night. On one side of her lay a small table with a small pot of tea, a bowl of rice porridge, and tea stained eggs. Breakfast, Minley thought to herself, but before she reached for it, she saw that a yellow brocade traveling bag lay on the other side of her. Inside the bag, Minley found her humble blanket, rabbit rice bowl with needle and bamboo piece, chopsticks, a generous supply of cakes, and her hollow gourd full of fresh water. On the very top lay the gold threaded pouch that held the ripped page of fortune. Minley took the pouch and held it with two hands. Well, I have the borrowed line, Minley thought. At least, I hope it is. So after a quick breakfast, Minley quietly left the pavilion. Part of her was tempted to explore the mosaic walkways through the jewel-colored leaves, but she knew being discovered by one of the king's counselors would be disastrous. Also, she knew Dragon was patiently waiting outside the city, so using the king's secret door, Minley carefully left the garden and walls of the inner city. And when she was out of the garden, Minley realized it was very early morning. The outer city was still sleeping. The stands were bare and the umbrellas were closed. Quickly, Minley scurried to the gate. With great effort, she was able to get through. She had to use a metal pole she'd found on the ground to lift the lock and lever one of the doors open. Even then, she was able to get it open a crack and had to squeeze. As she fell through the gate, gasping for air, she was shocked to see Dragon lying in front of the stone lions, sleeping. It took a couple of prods before Dragon woke, and his loud morning yawns almost put Minley in a panic, but they were able to get back to the hiding shelter of the forest before anyone saw them. "What were you doing by the city?" Minley asked. "You were supposed to stay hidden." "I was getting the borrowed line," Dragon said. "What do you mean?" Minley said. "I have the borrowed line." And in a rush, the two of them told each other about their night adventures. Dragon stared at the ripped page from the book, and Minley looked at the red cord in Dragon's hand. "So, which is the real borrowed line?" Dragon asked Minley. "I guess that is another question we'll have to ask the Old Man of the Moon," Minley said. And that's the end of chapter 26.